Hello and welcome to another episode of the Please Bet on Football Games podcast. I am your host, Alex, here with the on-air talent, Joe. Joe, how's it going today?
It's becoming harder and harder to love the NFL lately.
Yeah, were we talking on Monday or Sunday? We're just like, this isn't fun anymore.
It's listen, I promised we were going to go 4-1, and we didn't go 4-1. In the contest, we went 3-2, but even that was bullshit. We're already going to get dinged on YouTube because I swore 38 seconds into the pod. What did we go on the pod picks?
2-3.
Fuck me. Thank God we made the right choice on best bet, and we literally bet all moneyline underdogs, so at least we're getting some fucking odds in our favor.
Yep. So to jump into last week's bets, first up, let's talk about Minnesota. It was our best bet. We took them money line over Green Bay. They won. It was a pretty clean win. It got a little scary at the end, but it kind of felt like the Vikings were just playing, we're up by a ton. Let's not fuck this up.
Can I do a poetic reading real quick?
Absolutely.
I think the Packers are worse with Jordan Love. Jordan Love is way better than Malik Willis, but Matt LaFleur is so much better at calling plays when he doesn't trust his quarterback. Combine that with Jordan Love being extremely overrated, a bad starting quarterback, and Green Bay is much more dangerous without said starting quarterback. This is bait. You are retarded. Put the bottle down. You are a loser. I think I've made my point.
Just a small glimpse into Joe's Twitter.
I tell people what's going to happen, and then it happens, and they don't apologize for saying nasty, nasty things to me. No, I think that we handicapped this perfectly. We even said on the pod, God forbid Jordan Love actually play in this game. We like the Vikings more. Jordan Love is bad, and Matt LaFleur doesn't know it. When Matt LaFleur throws the kitchen sink at a team because he has a bad quarterback or a backup quarterback, he's almost unstoppable. But when he calls a regular game because he thinks he has a good quarterback, he sucks because Jordan Love sucks. He doesn't even suck. Matt LaFleur is always the top 5 coach, but I got a little carried away there. Regardless, this game was perfectly handicapped. The Vikings are going to continue making us money. Thank Christ, because they're the only thing we can count on these days. Next game.
And now on to a string of losses. We had New Orleans over Atlanta, money line. That lost, crushingly.
Alex, did you know that in the last 10 years, 2 teams have lost a game while scoring multiple touchdowns and not allowing any touchdowns? Sorry, 3. Did you know we've bet on all 3 of them this year? The Giants had 3 touchdowns and allowed 0 touchdowns to the Commanders. We lost because their kicker was hurt. Week one, the Titans had a blocked punt for touchdown, a throwaway for touchdown, and lost to the Bears in ridiculous fashion, blowing a 17-point lead in the second half. And now the Saints had a pick 6 on a deflected screen, a muffed punt for touchdown, and a last-second 58 career-long field goal for Young Ho Koo, putting us at 0-3 when shutting out opposing offenses. How the motherfuck does that occur?
It's not great luck. Special teams has hated us.
Literally every special teams break had gone against us this entire season until the Titans inexplicably got the ball at the 10 because they didn't recover an onside kick.
It was a safety kickoff, safety punt.
Fuck the order of this whole thing. I need to rant. The dynamic kickoff is the dumbest thing we've ever done to a sport in my lifetime. It's dumber than the shadow puck they used to use on Fox for NHL. It's dumber than, I don't know, baseball actually mostly does smart things, crazy enough. It is the most dumb. It is almost as dumb as when we decided that in the NBA contracts don't matter and players can just team up with their friends to dominate, making the game boring. The dynamic kickoff combines being less dynamic than the old kickoff with the complete abandonment of tradition and knowing what the rules are, and mixes in arbitrary bullshit that makes no sense and confuses everybody while playing a game. But hey, it theoretically might be safer. It needs to be abolished. This was a nice little experiment. We're done. Let's do the fucking kickoff like we did for 100 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe it gets better as people start to figure it out a little bit, but it looks bad.
It's never going to get better because there are too many fucking rules. How in God's name? So technically that safety punt is a free kick, like a kickoff. You're just not allowed to use a tee. So it was technically an onside kick, but it went too far to be an onside kick, but it went too short to be a regular kick. So what the fuck was it? And how do the Titans fail to recover the ball or fair catch it? And how does that involve a 90-yard penalty in favor of Tennessee? That is a ridiculous outcome that should never be possible.
There has to be something, because I was thinking of that of how do they get the ball at the 10? And it has to be some rule where if you illegally kick after a free kick, because it's got to be specific to a safety or something, right?
The rule is if you don't make it to if you kick beyond the onside kick area or before the regular kick area, if you don't make it into one of the designated areas, it's half the distance to the goal from the place the ball was kicked. And on a safety, the ball is kicked from the 20, whereas on a kickoff, the ball is kicked from the 40.
I mean, that's still insane.
It's all insane. The whole rule shouldn't exist. It's a dumb thing. We had a play that we did for 100 years, and Devin Hester got in the Hall of Fame for that play, and people love it. And yes, sometimes people get hurt from it, and then, oh no, guys who couldn't make the NFL get a pension for life because they were injured. Shucks, that's terrible. Oh wait, no, that's awesome. Oh, they limp? I limp. I'm not 30. I played high school hockey. Things happen. They got fucking healthcare for an entire lifetime for being injured during a game that they love to play and weren't good enough to play real positions at. What are we doing? This is the dumbest thing. This is purely the NFL saying, oh, well, we don't want to get sued, so we're going to do something ridiculous to show how much we care about safety so that all the fans cry and say, bring back the unsafety because the safety sucks ass. And that's exactly what I'm doing. And now next year, the NFL can cite me when they say, well, we have to do the unsafe thing. We don't want to hurt the fourth and fifth stringers who can't play in this league. But darn it, the fans want it. And yes, I do want it. I want real plays. And God forbid that means some people get pensions. That's my rant.
Nice. Do you have to have like a service time to get a pension? Or is it just like if you get hurt, you get a pension?
You get a pension if you play 10 years on real squad, not practice squad. They call them accredited years. Or if you get hurt in the line of duty, just like workers.
But like, how hurt do you have to get?
It has to be a lingering injury. So like if you tear your knee and have a degenerative condition from there on and you limp for the rest of your life, you can get insurance because you have an ongoing chronic condition. If you lost a limb, that's a chronic condition.
I don't know how many guys are losing limbs in kickoffs, though.
Well, actually, one guy did on the Cardinals. His finger ripped off inside of his glove, and this happened like 8 years ago. But I remember tried to tackle and he missed. Anyway, the kickoff is dumb. Hey, at least the Titans game went properly. Even without Will Levis, halfback dive was enough.
Yeah, I guess we'll just pivot onto that one real quick. Our other win, another money line bet, we had Tennessee over Miami. That one went exactly how you said it would go, which was Tennessee doesn't really have to do all that much. Miami's going to be bad.
Yep. And I love that one because everybody's saying, oh, look at what the Dolphins are without Tua. Yes, correct. Without Tua, the Dolphins are much worse. Asterisk. The without Tua means that they have to sign a fourth stringer off the street who couldn't make an NFL team this year, and he has 10 days to learn the playbook. By the way, he wasn't good in college. Like, yeah, Tua is better than dudes who would be backups in the AFL or the UFL or whatever the fuck they call it now. I'm in an angry mood.
Yeah, I can tell.
I keep on handicapping these games perfectly, and then bullshit keeps on stealing my money.
Well, how about we talk about some games we maybe didn't handicap as well?
Is one of them.
Another loss for the week. We had the Rams money line over the Chicago Bears. Bears won.
No, because this one, Matt Stafford fumbles at his own 15-yard line. That's why we lost. The Rams missed kicks. Caleb Williams still cannot hit a deep ball to save his life. DeAndre Swift broke a 50-yard run. That's not supposed to be possible. Just so unlucky on the margins. If you watch that game, you come away thinking the Rams deserved to win this game. And instead we lose by a touchdown because Matt Stafford throws a pick and fumbles when he gets sacked. It's not nice. I don't like it. I think that it was a 50-50 game, but because we bet money line on a 3-point underdog, I think that we had the right side. If it had been even odds, fine. It was a coin flip, even odds. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win. I think there was a 50-50 proposition and we got 56% odds. We made the right bet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this one was
It
as
wasn't
much of a
egregious.
bad bet. I think this one just didn't go well. Like you said, we lost on the margins. There was nothing egregious. Like it wasn't an insane outcome like New Orleans and Atlanta,
Hold
but
on. Hold on. We are so desensitized to the bullshit sneaking inside of our orifices that as long as the team we bet against scores an offensive touchdown, we don't feel like we got jobbed. It's been that bad.
yeah,
And the
I mean the
only
Rams
reason
defense is terrible though too.
it is terrible, but the only reason that I feel comfortable bitching and complaining this vociferously is because literally everybody who gives out picks is getting screwed by the same thing. Like go ahead and try to find a tout or an analyst or a personality that's not getting absolutely destroyed by this crazy variance this year.
Yeah, it has been wild so far. I mean, I'm sure there are some people winning money. This week we did actually win money though. We should
Did win money.
let's finish out this last game, then we can get into the numbers. But finally, we had Buffalo over Baltimore money line. Baltimore won.
Yeah, that one I think we were just kind of wrong. I underestimated the inability of Joe Brady and the Bills offensive coaching staff. I mean, it was terrible. There was a point there where it really looked like Buffalo was going to storm back. They were down 14, I want to say, and they were driving already in field goal range, looked unstoppable. And so naturally, Joe Brady pulls the Josh Allen reverse pass out of his back pocket to get his star quarterback injured on the dumbest play of all time when literally quick slants was working the entire length of the field. I think he's overwhelmed. This was a bad bet. The Ravens cooked us. I knew that the Buffalo Bills had an overrated bad defense, and I didn't care. And then Derrick Henry ran 80 yards down my throat on the first play.
Yeah,
I was
that
wrong.
one.
I was wrong.
Yeah, we just missed. That was a tough one. But that rounds out week 4. We went 2-3. However, we won just over half a unit because Minnesota it was our best bet and it was a plus 125 bet. So it saved our butts a little bit there. So for the year, that takes us to down 4.7 units.
Oh, that week 3 is killing me.
Yep.
Okay, week 4 we were profitable on the pod picks and we were 3-2 in the contest. So if I'm that angry and we got that unlucky, we're doing everything right. Like without an act of God again, we would have been 4-1 exactly like I said, and we would have had a nice 3-unit weekend and everything would be hunky dory. So let's just keep our heads up and keep doing the thing we're doing because we're right. We are right. We are on track. We just need to hold out, keep our confidence.
I still believe we can do it. All right. You want to jump in and actually talk about the potential chance of winning some money?
Let's do it. You.
All right. Kicking off week 5. On Thursday night, we have the Buccaneers going to play the Falcons. The Buccaneers.
Falcons going to play the Buccaneers.
Is it?
No, you're right. This is backwards. We got a bad odds sheet.
I also don't know the times for any of these, but we'll persevere. Our number for that game is Falcons minus 1.5.
Do we even have to give a handicap on this one?
No, I mean, we know we're betting it.
We're betting the Tampa Bay Bucks. They have the best quarterback in the NFL, and they're playing against a team that didn't score a touchdown last week. Also, I like this odd sheet better.
I do too.
A little chaotic, but we'll manage. Yeah, so part of the reason that the Falcons couldn't score last week is they're missing almost half their offensive line. The right tackle and their center are both out. That means that a backup center, who's terrible, is going to have to try to block Vita Vea. Good luck. And then, quietly, Yaya Diaby is like 5th in pressures.
He's been all over in the games I've watched.
It's kind of funny. He's quite exactly what the Buccaneers and even I thought Joe Tryon would be. Because when the Bucs drafted Joe Tryon, I was like, okay, he sucks at football, but he is 6'5" and athletic. He could be a Leonard Floyd type. And Todd Bowles is really creative at creating pressures just because his defensive end is athletic, like he did with Shaq Barrett a few years ago, turning a very mediocre player into like a Pro Bowler. It turns out Joe Tryon is a fucking head case who just refuses to put his head down and play football. So that sucks. But Yaya Diaby is exactly that. He is very quick, very long, very bendy, and he does what he's supposed to. He's not a technically refined rusher. He's not powerful, but he's got decent enough hands and a ton of bend, and he works on those twists and stunts, and he gets pressures. So he's going to go against Storm Norton. Again, good luck. And then don't look now, but the Buccaneers secondary might be good.
Dude, McCollum might be like legit.
I don't want to say might be anymore. I want to say Zion McCollum is fucking good.
Yeah.
And like,
well, I'm saying he might be like a true like number one. Like,
so PFF has him as their number one graded cornerback, and we know that PFF, unless you have PFF Ultimate, which means that you run an NFL team, you can only see the coverage grade, quote unquote, just means how good they are at the catch point because they only grade plays where the cornerback is targeted. But Zion McCollum is awesome at the catch point, right? If we know that, according to PFF, and it also matches our eye test, and we combine it with the fact that he is 6'2" and ridiculously fast and quick, I mean, objectively, he's a very intriguing corner at the very least. And yeah, you're right. Like his tackling's been great. He's flying around. He's hustling. He looks like a new guy. And this is after 2 years of being like, can't play him bad. So, I mean, if McCollum sticks to what he's been, he's big enough that he can handle Drake London. Jamel Dean is also big and fast enough that he can handle Drake London. All of a sudden, God forbid Antoine Winfield plays again. The secondary is like fierce. And that was the weakness of the entire team.
Yeah, I think some of that you're always going to be a little weak because Todd Bowles is going to play that soft coverage.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it looks a lot better than it did 4 weeks ago.
Absolutely. And if you've got, here's the other thing, you can't run on the Bucs. We just saw the Eagles, awesome offensive line. Even without Lane Johnson, it's still a great group. You still got four fucking maulers, and they couldn't do anything in the run game against the Bucs with Saquon, who I've heard is generational. So Bijan Robinson, who is similarly generational, I actually think is the best running back in football with a much, much worse offensive line. Good luck. Yeah, I love the matchup on that side of the ball. And then what needs to be said? Baker Mayfield's the best quarterback in football. The weakness of this Bucs offense is that their offensive line low key has three really bad players because Gadecki hasn't played this year. Here's to hoping that Luke Gadecki comes back after 3 weeks of sitting out with a concussion, because honestly, if he doesn't, he should maybe think about doing other things with his life. Like legitimately, that's scary. Mm-hmm. But if he does come back, and we have to assume he does, suddenly, instead of having three really bad players, this offensive line has three pretty good players. And that makes all the world of difference, especially against an objectively bad defensive line in the Falcons, who have the all 2017 lineup.
I mean, they're good in the run, but they're not generating any pass rush.
They were getting gashed in the run the last 2 weeks. In theory, they should be. Like Grady Jarrett should still be great against the run. He isn't. David Onyemata isn't old enough to be this washed, but he is. Matt Judon, he was always mid with the Patriots, and he got schemed into pressures, and now there's nobody helping him, and he's just below mid. And then Lorenzo Carter is whatever. He's like a fine player, ideally a rotational edge. Fucking Troy Anderson, the linebacker from Montana State, who I love, was a freak last week against the Saints, and then he got hurt at the end of the game. So at the best, he's going to be banged up on a short week against a physical offensive line. Bucky Irvin finally is getting starting reps. He's so much better than Rachaad White, and he's powerful. It's perfect for what they want to do. And then Mike Evans dropped 4 balls last week. The Buccaneers dropped 8 in total, and Baker still completed like 70-something% of his passes, which is the true definition of transcendent. God forbid Mike Evans ever learns how to catch. It's so over for this league. Like Liam Cohen is a godsend. He's legitimately a very good offensive coordinator. He's everything they thought Canales would be. I love this Buccaneers team right now, especially because it turns out scoring on the Broncos isn't that easy.
Yeah, I think maybe they just underestimated the Broncos, which is understandable, and then just had a shit week as it kind of just compounds. But yeah, they look legitimate. That offense could be one of the best in the league. Obviously, when they play anyone that's got a good pass rush, shit could fall apart. But if Gadecki comes back and plays well, and you can, I don't know, figure out something with one of the other linemen, either keep more people in, but that offense can really hum. They have some legit receiving options, and now Bucky Irving can run. I'm not going to say it's our best bet yet,
I think I might. The Falcons didn't score a touchdown last week. Nobody noticed that.
Yeah, but they've been solid.
Have they?
They've been solid. They haven't been good.
They beat the Eagles on a fluke, and that's probably the one game we actually got lucky in this year. Who did they play week 3?
Chiefs.
Yeah, and they got ramrodded.
They were the Thursday night game, weren't they?
Something like that. And then week 1, they got beaten by the Steelers. This Falcons team might be bad. I will say, Kirk Cousins he's looked better and better every week, but there's only so much you can do when your offensive line's not very good. Your quarterback looks better, but he doesn't look good. Like, we definitely get the better quarterback. We have similar head coaches. We have the better offensive coordinator. We have the better line on both sides of the ball. How do we lose? Baker implodes? I trust him. I have to, because every time I don't trust him, he fucking balls out and then I don't make money. I trust him. I think the best quarterback in the NFL will play good.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's go for it.
Best
You just
bet.
gonna do money line?
Best bet, Buccaneers money line. Cha-ching, cha-ching. Hit it. And that's plus 110.
All right, let's move on to Sunday.
Let's do it.
First up, we have a London game. We have the New York Jets and the Minnesota Vikings playing across the pond at 9:30 a.m. Central Time.
I think it's actually 8:30.
Oh yeah, it'll be 8:30.
That's disgusting. I will be watching this from the boat while I fish, I guess. Oh yeah, there will not be any live charting this week. I will be on a fishing trip, so I will be watching and listening to games, but I will not be grading. That being said, I think that we are 2 for 2 on games I'm betting. Why does nobody respect the Vikings? They're clearly the best team in football.
Right now, they are playing like it.
Okay, hear me out. They have definitely top 8, maybe top 5 offensive line, right? And I think everybody would pretty much agree with that. They have what everybody agrees is the best or second best wide receiver in football, Justin Jefferson. And everybody agrees that Jordan Addison is an elite wide receiver too. Aaron Jones has been one of the most productive running backs in football every year for half a fucking decade. And they have Kevin O'Connell, who's a top 5 play caller. Then on the other side of the ball, they've got Brian Flores, probably the best defensive mind going. And whereas last year their secondary was terrible, now they have Stephon Gilmore, who's still good. Every year I say, why is Stephon Gilmore being disrespected? He's very good. And everybody says, I don't know. And then he's really good. And it's like, oh, who could have seen this coming? My hand's up. My hand is asleep from being up vertical and the blood not flowing because I eat too much steak. I love this Vikings team. I love everything about them. And I think that they are better both on paper and in practice at every position over the Jets. Let's go through it. Offensive line. We've got a top 8 offensive line versus a top 15 offensive line, right? Like Fashanu looks like a rookie. He gets confused. He misses blocks. That's something he did at Penn State. He's going to continue to do it in the NFL for a while. Other than that, they're solid, whereas the Vikings are sick. They have no weak link. I love every one of their 5 offensive linemen. Justin Jefferson's better than Garrett Wilson. Jordan Addison's better than Allen Lazard. Receiving is done. Running backs. Breece Hall is exciting, but last week he shat the bed. Aaron Jones never shits the bed. He's consistently very good. Defensive line. When's the last time? Remember when the Jets were supposed to have this sick defensive line? Who on it is good at football? I've been asking this. We asked this in the offseason when we were doing the Jets preview. We were like, this defensive line is supposed to be sick, and I know that Leonard Williams is sick. Sorry, Quinnen. But the other 3 guys kind of suck. And it turns out they kind of suck.
Yeah.
Funny how that works.
Even Quinnen Williams isn't playing that well.
I was told that Jermaine Johnson was elite. Greg Cosell said he should be a top 5 pick. He was the definition of mid and then got hurt. And he's been replaced by Will McDonald, who I was told was sick, despite being a 24-year-old senior or something like that. And you know what? It turns out he's not really sick. He's like pedestrian. Javon Kinlaw never learned how to play football. Got drafted in the first round. I never really got why. Bad at football. And then it's to the point they're starting Michael Clemens on the other end. Why? I don't know.
I think he's been starting for a little bit too.
All season. Because Jermaine Johnson's hurt and Hassan Reddick refuses to play. And honestly, good call, Hassan Reddick. Teams have figured out that Sauce Gardner is good but not special if you make him actually play cornerback instead of just playing cover 3 and making sure you don't get vertical on him. Like, you can beat Sauce Gardner the same way you could beat Richard Sherman for years. Run a slant, run a dig, anything that makes him move side to side instead of back and forth. Yes, he's long and fairly fast. He's not quick. Utilize it against him. I think Sauce Gardner is a B+ A- corner. He's a really good corner, probably an A- corner. But people were talking about him like he was Deion Sanders for a while, and he's getting exposed. The Jets are poorly coached. The Jets quarterback is not consistent and certainly not good enough to carry a team. He was putrid against the Broncos, missing open throws. And meanwhile, Sam Darnold is solid. And that's all you need to be when you've got an elite play caller, elite weapons, and tons of time.
Hmm.
And one final note. The worst thing you can do when you're playing a special play caller is run a vanilla predictable defense. And all Salah does is cover three and cover four, mostly cover three. The seam is going to be wide open, and Justin Jefferson will be running wheels into that seam. They're going to run switch fades. Justin Jefferson will be streaking between the safety and the corner all day. It is going to be gorgeous. Vikings -2.5. Get it while it's hot.
Cha-ching.
Did I miss anything? I mean, I love this bet.
No, I think you went through it. The only thing that worries me about it is that, it's a London game. I know the Vikings are pretty familiar with London games. They're not quite the Jags, but they've been there a good amount.
The scene of the Lewis Scene crime where he destroyed his leg.
But I don't know. It's always something to consider. But hell, probably Rodgers is the one that's going to travel the worst.
When are we going to talk about Aaron Rodgers being like an actual detriment to the Jets? Because all he does is throw down Lazard and bitch, and he's not very good. Not very good at the first one.
He do be complaining. All right, so Vikings -2.5 is a bet. I'm a little worried about the travel. You always have to be a little concerned about that, throwing off guys' routines. But the Vikings are better in pretty much every facet of the game. They're playing better football right now. There could be a letdown because they're 4-0, but they're just better.
It's a tier mismatch. Like the only argument I can think of for the Jets is, well, they just got embarrassed, so they're going to be really pissed off and trying to stick it to them. But it's like every game is do or die for these Jets. Last year was an embarrassment all year. This is their one shot at anything with Aaron Rodgers, and they're not doing anything with it. The only time they've looked okay is against the Patriots. So does everyone, except for Joe Burrow, obviously.
All right. I don't think much more needs to be said.
Not at all.
Let's move on to the 12 o'clock hour. First up, we have the Carolina Panthers going to play the Chicago Bears. The Bears are -3.5.
The battle of who was correct to trade the pick. Remember like 3 weeks ago when people were saying, imagine how much better Bryce Young would look if he had played for the Bears instead of the Panthers. Not even joking. Yesterday morning, I saw a tweet. Imagine how much better Caleb Williams would look if he was playing for the Panthers instead of the Bears. Not joking at all. Like, the tables have turned so completely. Remember in the offseason when people were talking about this Bears wide receiving core is elite. The offensive line is good. The coaching staff is good. Caleb Williams is in the best position to succeed we've ever seen. It's been a combination of Caleb underwhelming and everybody overrating all the other pieces, but it's not good. Here's a fun fact. I got roasted in the offseason or like pre-draft season for saying that Caleb Williams had a really bad deep ball. He only was accurate on about 20% of the deep balls I graded. Through 3 NFL games graded, I didn't grade week 3. Caleb has 16 attempted deep balls. Would you like to guess how many he's been accurate on? How many have been catchable?
2.
1. In week 2, he had week 2, he had an accurate deep ball. That's it. His deep ball is terrible. It's a combination of having no touch and just no depth perception. He throws everything a rocket like Kyler Murray. He's just Kyler Murray in so many ways. He's got better pocket presence and he's taller so he can see the middle of the field a little bit, but he's so Kyler Murray. I'm very tempted to bet Carolina here, and I definitely think the value is on Carolina, especially if you catch that 4. Because Andy Dalton's good.
And I was about to say, Andy Dalton revenge game.
Oh, no. I think I have, for the sake of the podcast, I have to bet Andy Dalton against the Bears. Oh, no. The Andy Dalton revenge game again. And they almost fucking did it against the Bengals last week. They were so close.
Yes.
Buddy. I mean, this Bears team couldn't be any luckier. They couldn't be any more overrated than they currently are at this moment. Listen, let's maybe pile it.
It's a maybe pile.
It's a maybe pile, but the Panthers have the better offensive coaching. They have the better quarterback.
Yeah, and it looks like +4 is out there.
It is out there. It's currently at BetMGM, who banned me because I'm too smart for them, apparently.
All right. We'll maybe pile that one and then move along. Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens going to play the Cincinnati Bengals. The Ravens are -2.5, a road favorite.
We've got another actionable one, buddy.
I agree.
You know how I feel about betting on actionable good games. I love it because you get both teams' best, so they're more predictable. I want to bet Ravens, but I'm scared. I don't believe in either quarterback. I'm not super stoked on either offensive coordinator. And whereas I like the Ravens defense more, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are game breakers. And don't look now, but this Andre Yashovis or whatever the hell, however you say it, the Filipino guy from Princeton, who's beautiful, by the way. He's really good at football. Turns out 6'4" freak athlete who went to Princeton, good at football. That makes sense. I don't know, dude. I think we gotta pass it. It's a fucking divisional game. Shit gets weird. Road favorite.
My feeling is pretty much exactly the same, what your first two sentences were, which is I want to bet the Ravens, but I don't really feel good about that. I think the Ravens are a better team. They're playing better football right now, but division
No.
game, the Bengals, like all the teams in the AFC North have kind of found the right strategy for playing against Lamar because they've seen him so much now.
But Lamar is playing his best ball ever. Like Lamar right now is a legitimate B to B minus quarterback, and that's never been the case before. And the Bengals defense sucks something awful.
Yeah, it's bad.
Man, everything says the Ravens. Fuck.
I know. Then you go, why do they put it at 2.5?
Because
They
Joe
know.
Burrow.
Well, I think it's also because the Bengals are playing better. Is that your new crush?
No,
Joe's showing me.
he's not my crush, but Andre Iosivas is a good looking man who's also 6'4" and went to Princeton and ran a 4.4, which is the much more important part.
The Ravens defense looked a lot better last 2 weeks, really.
Dude, it's a maybe pile. We'll come back to it. We'll come back
Yeah,
to
it's maybe pile, but I think I would probably pick Ravens over Panthers at
I
this
agree.
point.
I completely agree. Ooh, we checked the weather.
Oh, good point.
Damn, we're recording too early for everybody to give us the weather.
All right, well, let's move on to the next game. We'll try and find the weather while we're doing this. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills going to play the Houston Texans. The Bills are -1.
Can the Texans beat the spread one time this year? So far, the answer is no.
I mean, they've just looked bad in general.
Yeah, they really have. CJ Stroud has come crashing back to earth despite having an ungodly wide receiver core. I have a lean. Do you have a lean?
Yeah, I mean, I lean Bills, but I'm not thrilled about it just because we saw what can happen to them if you.
But it's not going to happen twice in a row.
Yeah, and the Ravens do that to people from time to time because they have a unique offense. But the Bills did get a little exposed.
Well,
And
so the Bills got exposed, but what did they get exposed for? They got exposed for having no ability to stop the run. But this week they're playing against a team with a much worse running game, a much worse run blocking offensive line. Because say what you will about the Ravens offensive line, I think it was underrated to begin with, but it's very good at run blocking. Like, yeah, sometimes Daniel Faalele has a hard time moving, but he can stumble forward through a couple guys. He's 400 pounds. So if the Bills don't have to worry as much about stopping the run and they can sit back in zones the way they want to, that's better. Losing Von Miller does stink. Taylor Rapp being out would also suck. But then Josh Allen against a notoriously bad run defense. Him and Cook are going to cook.
yeah, I just worry about. I feel like this might be a good defense for the Houston Texans to get their offense going.
Bills. It's a matter of caliber. Everybody is pissed off because they just saw the Bills get embarrassed in prime time. The reason that the line is what it is, the reason we feel reticent is because we are overreacting to the Bills embarrassing and upsetting us in prime time. If the Bills had canceled that game for COVID, they would be 5-point favorites in this game. The Texans should have lost to the fucking Jaguars in a game that Trevor Lawrence had a D performance in. If it wasn't for a goal line fumble, or it was either a goal line fumble or a goal line turnover on downs. Either way, the Jaguars had the ball in touchdown range, goal to go situation, got no points out of it, and we're still winning by 3 with 2 minutes left. It's the Bills. It's the Bills.
All right, Buffalo -1.
Yeah, Buffalo -1.
Or do you just want to do money line?
No, fuck it. -1 is a joke. It doesn't even exist. Buff -1. That's a bet. I don't like it as much as the other two, but it's in there. We got to have 5 bets.
We're still in Still in the opening frame.
Yeah, but I've looked at the rest of the frame.
That's fair. All right. That's a bet. Our third bet, Buffalo -1.
Look at the
Next
next
up,
one. Yeah, look at the next one and tell me that you're not sure about Buffalo.
we have the Indianapolis Colts going to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags are -2.5.
We are at the point where Doug Peterson is liable to pull out a gun and shoot Trevor Lawrence in the back of the head at any moment during any game because one of them has got to go, and one of them just signed a big new contract. So Doug Peterson's only way to preserve his career, who's that figure skater who took a crowbar to her competitor's knee?
Tanya Harding.
If Doug Peterson doesn't get him in touch with Tanya Harding's boys, it's over. His career is over. Super Bowl winning coach, career over. Because Trevor Lawrence hasn't improved at football since he was 19. And nobody seems to understand that being good at 19, but being the exact same player for the next 7 years doesn't make you good.
Yeah, it's caught up to him a little bit. You came into this year going, all right, he's shown flashes. Let's see if he can take that next step. And instead, he took 2 steps backwards.
You're like, I wrote an article in the summer of 2023, so before the 2023 season. This is right after the Jaguars beat the Chiefs in that crazy wild card comeback game. And I said, when is Trevor Lawrence going to have to start playing good for us to believe he's good? Because he's had a few good games, but he's mostly bad. And then last year, he was entirely bad. And this year, he's been entirely bad. So when does the bad stop? And it hasn't. It has exacerbated itself. And it's weird because Trevor Lawrence doesn't seem to have a personality or a single interest outside of football. So, like, it'd be one thing if he was Manzelling it and, like, snorting his career up his nose. But he seems to do nothing.
Maybe that's just who he is.
There's just nothing to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he maxed out his entire brain's capacity at 19 years old, and now he's just flatlining.
Yes, he's plateaued.
Well, the problem is that the Colts fucking suck too, and they might be making the terrible mistake of starting an injured Anthony Richardson, who's terrible when healthy, and stop me if you've heard this one before, is hurt again.
I don't want to bet on this game.
I have a gripe. I'm going to go on a little mini rant. Is that okay?
Let me just say, I do think there's a decent chance that Flacco plays like half of this game, though. Go ahead.
Excuse me. I'm going to do another poetic reading. I've been on Twitter less lately, and therefore I am really internalizing it more.
As I'd say, each interaction means that much more to you.
The Birdwatcher sent me this tweet.
He's a kind boy.
The thing about Will Levis is he's never been good at any level, and he's never even looked good at any level. But when you step back and look at the potential, that was also never there. Why do people believe that Will Levis is Anthony Richardson when Anthony Richardson is right there? Like Will Levis, for all his warts, led a bad Kentucky team to a bowl game twice. Will Levis has several excellent games in the NFL already. Yes, he's inconsistent. Yes, he has blunders. Whatever. Anthony Richardson has never completed 60% of his passes in college, high school, or the NFL. In fact, in the NFL, he's completed less than half. But hey, he's 6'5", and he runs a 4.4, and he's a big 250-pound man. Oh, but he's constantly falling apart. He's not built for this. Yes, he looks sick, but he is glass. So what are we doing? And maybe it's not that he's glass. Maybe that's not fair. Maybe he's a real strong man, but just no human body can take that much of a pounding. No human body can be in collisions involving a 6'5", 240-pound man all the time and walk away from it. Well, he's got to, because he can't see targets. He can't read defenses. He can't throw easy passes. He can't do anything other than be big and fast. And I got really bad news for people. His rushing vision, his ability to see holes in the defense, Trent Richardson caliber. Like, I don't understand how you could watch Anthony Richardson and say anything other than, oh, that's bad. Like, he legitimately, you know what he really needs? To go back in time and never leave Florida. Or transfer to a better school, maybe. I don't know, get a better offensive coordinator. But there's a reason he couldn't produce shit with Ricky Pearsall and a good offensive line with multiple first-rounders on it and a 5-star running back. Because he's terrible. And he needs more time to play and figure this game out. And spoiler, he never will. But theoretically, that's the only way forward for him. And then Colts fans will argue with you and say, no, he's good. And you say, no, he's not. They'll say, well, he's only 21. He'll get good. Well, will he get good or is he good? Pick one. And also, I got terrible news for you. Players don't get better in the NFL. There's not enough practice. There's not enough reps. It's not easy enough for them to try shit out. They're constantly overwhelmed until the point of crippling themselves with anxiety and fear. The only time quarterbacks get better in the NFL is when A, they get a tremendous upgrade in offensive play caller and designer, and which means that it almost never actually includes any improvement, just better stats, or B, their name is Joshua Allen and they're from Fireball, California. That's it. Those are the two options. And guess what? Anthony Richardson already has an elite offensive mind with an elite offensive line and elite receivers. So it can't get better. It's it. He's terrible. Don't play him. If they play Flacco, I might even look at the Colts. But as it stands, I can only look Jags, and the Jags might actually have a murder in their own locker room. So fuck this game. Fuck this entire game into a galaxy far, far away. But not the Star Wars one, because I once cared about that.
My synopsis of this game is, or I'd rather just your take on Anthony Richardson. Because I've seen a lot of people talk about, even if he is bad, like it's worth taking the chance on the 6'4", alien and putting him in a great offense and seeing what he can do. But to your point, I feel like that discounts, I think guys do improve, but I think it discounts like actually watching them play and seeing if they can do things. Because I think guys can improve, but for the most part, people don't make drastic improvements. There will be some guys like, that are kind of middling and then they unlock something, but it doesn't happen that much at quarterback. And I don't think it's ever happened from as bad of a spot that Richardson came from in terms of his stats and abilities and production in college. Like Josh Allen also, I don't know if you remember, but I remember that stat from his draft year of he had never completed more than 60% of his passes.
He went to Wyoming. His number one receiver was Jacob Hollister.
And throwing in the mountains.
Ricky Pearsall is a 6'3" wide receiver who runs a 4.4 and has some of the most incredible catches you'll ever see. And the reason he has those incredible catches is because Anthony Richardson's not capable of putting a ball within 3 feet of a receiver's head.
Yeah, but
by the way, Florida. And it's the SEC. So you're like, oh, what is the SEC? No. That means they played like the Citadel. They played Division II teams like every other SEC team does. And you know how Anthony Richardson looked against them? Also bad.
All right. Yeah, I don't really think he's good. I understand why some people could have thought he could get there, but I think that was just the fallout of Josh Allen going from
everybody's just chasing
bad to insane.
Everybody is just saying, well, Josh Allen did it.
Yeah, no, he's gonna. I even remember, I'm trying to remember who it was, but someone said like the year he really broke out, they were like, he's gonna get so many GMs fired because they're all gonna try and find their own Josh Allen and be like, oh yeah, this is why you can't really just take some athletic freak and be like, oh, go be a quarterback.
So you want to hear Anthony Richardson's high school stats real quick?
Oh my God.
So Anthony Richardson threw for 4,600 yards in high school, 37 touchdown passes and 19 interceptions with a 53% completion percentage. That's a pretty good season, except that's his entire high school career. He had 140 yards a game in high school, completing half of his passes. And then he followed it up by sucking cock in college as well. And then he sucked cock in the NFL. Maybe the guy likes to suck cock. I don't know. If he keeps on doing the same shit, maybe he just is that way. I don't think that Anthony Richardson's going to learn how to magically be more dominant in the NFL than he was as a 18-year-old high school student. I don't know. It kind of seems like fucking basic logic. But hey, who am I to use the logic? He's tall.
He's fast. He's strong.
Next fucking game. And also, before we go to next game, remember when the Colts were like a slam dunk to pick Will Levis? They'd be a contender.
Their games would be more fun.
Next fucking game. Oh, it gets worse. How does it get worse?
It's not going to get better for a while either. Next up,
it's just terrible. I hate this league. Next game.
Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins going to play the New England Patriots. The Patriots are -1.
It's the blind versus the deaf. It's the blind versus the deaf, and the assignment is write out the musical notes you are currently listening to. Neither of them are capable. Poor Mike McDaniel. This is what you get for being a pussy and sticking with your shitty quarterback because feelings matter to you. Take that, sociology. As a shot directly at you.
Hey, I got more after that.
All the soft things about Mike McDaniel that you love are what have caused his downfall. If he had just told Tua to suck it up and deal with the fact that he brought in Baker Mayfield as a good backup because Tua has brain trauma, we would never be in this position where Tyler Huntley is coming out a week into an offense and realizing he's not capable of doing anything. But hey, he'll get another chance against the terrible Patriots who have the worst offensive line and the worst wide receivers in the NFL. Oh no.
I don't want to bet on this game.
Next game.
And rounding out the noon slate, we have the Cleveland Browns going to play the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are -3. However, there is +3.5 for the Browns.
I have a take that I need to get out of my mouth because it's on the tip of my tongue and it's making me nauseous. The taste is unbearable. Deshaun Watson played well last week.
Yeah.
Great. The Browns are the side.
It depends on the health of Myles Garrett to me.
I don't know if it even does.
But
who's the backup?
I have no idea.
Listen, the Commanders have, for the last 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks, been very efficient on offense. Do you think it's a coincidence that they played the backup Bengals, the Cardinals, who are effectively backups, and the Giants? I don't think it's a coincidence at all.
No, but Cleveland's defense has not been as good as they were last year. Mostly in the cornerback room, because Martin Emerson has played like shit. Greg Newsome hasn't played very well. And the safeties are very hit and miss. I mean, JOK is the ideal guy to have if you're playing someone like Jaden Daniels.
JOK is going to spy Jaden Daniels every snap. And he'll do it.
Exactly. He'll be great at it. He's the perfect guy to have someone do that. And the D-line has been good even with Myles being banged up.
Well, let me get out ahead of that because you're not going to pressure the Commanders. They get the ball out too quick. So it's not even a factor. You answer these questions for me and I tell you if we're betting on the Browns. How are the Browns at stopping the run?
I have no idea. I only watch their games to delight when things go wrong. I'm very results driven.
That's extremely fair.
I just want to see their failure. And that's where I don't have to go ooh, but the process was good. Fuck you.
The Browns' run defense is good, and the Commanders have been fantastic at running the ball. One of those has to give. Frankly, I think that the Commanders' run offense is fraudulent because it beat up on the backup Bengals defensive line and the Cardinals, who are all backups anyway. Against the Buccaneers, they did nothing. And I think that the Browns are much closer to the Buccaneers in personnel on defense than they are the Cardinals. The other question is, can Emerson, Ward, and Newsome tackle? Because it's all screens. So the question is just, can they tackle and or can the safeties come up and hit screens? And that's all Grant Delpit does.
Ward tackles well. Emerson's decent. Newsome's shitty.
Well, so here's the thing. If you're telling me you have a fast linebacker room and box safeties who hit well, that tells me that the Browns are especially good at stopping screens. And if they can stop the run well, which again, Grant Delpit is a linebacker, JOK is fantastic, Bush is a run stopper. I think that the Browns match up perfectly. And I think that this Jaden Daniels hype machine is out of control. And yes, Jaden Daniels has played well, but because they're only doing 3 things. Quarterback run, JOK gets rid of that. Screens, box safeties, and fast linebackers get rid of that. A couple deep balls. But here's the thing. Jaden Daniels has thrown 8 deep balls this season. 2 have been accurate. They just both happen to be on Monday Night Football, so it's all anybody remembers. He's been bad at the deep ball, but the 2 that hit were dope, and people remember them. And then on the other side,
there was one earlier in the year that was to McLaurin down the sideline that was really nice.
Was it against the Giants or the Buccaneers?
I think it was the Buccaneers.
Garbage time. Didn't count it.
That would do it. I agree with you. I think this Browns defense is a good matchup. I don't think that they're going to completely shut him down because no matter what in that type of offense, you're still going to generate yards. And Jalen has been very good at executing that offense. You have to give him credit. They've done a good job of it. And so I still think they're going to produce somewhat. I mean, I think with the number being 3.5 for the Browns, I kind of agree with you. Just their offensive line terrifies me because
That leads me perfectly to this next point because I'll agree it's been terrible. Who the fuck in Washington can rush the passer?
nobody.
Dante Fowler Jr.'s corpse? Dorrance Armstrong? Like, yeah, Brown's offensive line has been bad, but Conklin's coming back eventually, right?
As has been said for the last 3 years.
Longer than that. Look, it's a bad defensive line versus a bad offensive line, but the bad offensive line has a really good coach. The bad defensive line has nothing. It's a good offensive coordinator in Stefanski against a vanilla cover 3 defense that he knows what to expect from. There is no secondary for Washington. If Watson can play half as well as he played last week, the Browns torch this team. And
Go ahead.
wouldn't it be just so poetically fucking unjust for Deshaun Watson to play a couple of terrible teams, have a couple good performances, and then people say he's back?
Yes, it would be.
It's the kind of bullshit that happens.
Then we could bet against them.
We zig and we zag. It's a maybe pile for sure.
Yeah, definitely maybe pile. I just worry about the offense because even when like Deshaun played well last week and they couldn't beat the fucking Raiders.
Yeah.
Like that's
and they got
that's where
jobs. They got jobs, but it shouldn't be close.
exactly. Like, yeah, the defense mostly held up their end, but the receivers were dropping everything. The offensive line couldn't block.
No.
And Watson actually played really well, which we said like he doesn't even have to play that well and they'll win games.
I gave him an A-. I haven't given him an A- in 6 years.
And they lost to the Raiders. So that's where I'm concerned about it and want to definitely maybe it. But let's move on.
Yeah. We could do this one quickly.
Next up, kicking off the 3:00 hour. We have the Las Vegas Raiders going to play the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are -2.5, or you can get Raiders +3.
Or you can fish instead next game.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I want as much to do with this as Devontae Adams does. None.
Yeah, who had week 5 for the formal trade request?
I had August 5th.
Next game, we have the Arizona Cardinals going to play the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are -7.5.
Remember when Kyler Murray had that like perfect quarter of football and buried the Rams and people thought he was back and then he actually wasn't back because he never was because he's never been good? Next game. But it's too big a spread. I can't touch.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth it. Next up, we have the Green Bay Packers going to play the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are +3.5, or you can get the Packers -3.
This is a home game for the Packers, first of all, effectively. Like, it's going to be loud as hell when the Rams have the ball. And the Packers are just going to run the ball down their throat.
Yeah.
Like, I hate it. I hate to say it, but the Packers are going to win, and I don't trust Jordan Love with a 3-point lay. Like, that's it. Like, I have a great quarterback with a good coach versus a great coach with a bad quarterback. But the bad quarterback and great coach have an infinitely better roster, and therefore my hands are tied.
Yep. I think like yeah, I agree. I think even if you're going Jordan Love is hurt and nowhere near as good as everyone thinks he is, the Packers have a much better defense. They run the ball way better, and they still have elite coaching. So I think 3 scares you, or really just betting on the Packers scares you, because it's Jordan Love and he's hurt and not very good. So yeah, we'll pass it and move on to our next game.
Yeah.
Rounding out the 3:00 hour, we have the New York Giants going to play the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are -6, or you can get Giants +6.5.
I actually lean Giants. They've quietly been a lot less bad than people thought, but they're still bad. Like, if Daniel Jones could hit a deep ball, the Giants would be legitimately good, but he can't, and he won't.
Yeah, he's bad. We talked about him being like, no, he's just mid. No, he's bad.
But he's just competent enough to get you thinking like, I don't know, it's a good offense. He's got great weapons. The offensive line's holding up. Maybe he gets it done. And then he gets right to the edge and then he pukes all over his chest. And we're running out of games.
Yeah. Well, we got maybes, but moving on to Sunday night, we have the Dallas Cowboys going to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are -1.5, or you can get Cowboys +2.5.
There's nobody left on the Cowboys.
They're dead.
The Steelers aren't good, but they're good at things. Whereas the Cowboys are dead, which is actually very topical considering what we just talked about.
Yeah.
How all presidential candidates are dead guys. Uh, the Cowboys defense is now, it's literally so unrecognizable that I just was looking at their depth chart and didn't recognize it. So I switched to the other team thinking I certainly have this wrong. But they're missing both defensive ends, and their defensive tackles are notoriously amongst the worst in the entire NFL. So it's Marshawn Nealand out of Central Michigan, who I actually kind of like. Here's at Western Michigan. It's Western Michigan. Damn me. I kind of like him. He'll be okay, but he's not like sick. And then on the other side is Chauncey Golston. Oh no. Yeah. So you're just going to run on this team all you want. And that's exactly what the Steelers want to do. They're doing a wonderful job of hiding Justin Fields. They're not asking him to make a single read. They're not asking him to make a single difficult throw. They're saying, hey, buddy, you want to hand this ball to our friend over here? And he's doing it. And then they're saying, okay, good job handing the ball to your buddy. Do you think you could throw the ball 10 yards to this open receiver over there? And most of the time he could do it. And as long as he's not fumbling the snap or just having a brain fart that leads to a ridiculous sack, it's fine. The Cowboys have no cornerbacks. Remember that minute where everybody thought Trevon Diggs was an elite corner despite the fact that he can't move?
Yep.
Yeah, that was fucking stupid. But I guess that explains clip that. We can use it for everything that the NFL media thinks. Yeah, the Cowboys can't stop the run at all against a team that is going to run the ball pretty well against anyone. The Cowboys have lost everybody. And then on the other side of the ball, it's CeeDee Lamb versus the entire Steelers defense, where the Steelers defense has a ridiculous defensive line with excellent pass rush. And then I assume they will use Minkah Fitzpatrick to try to help out on CeeDee Lamb when he's in the slot, which is one of the better uses for Minkah Fitzpatrick. And then I think Joey Porter is actually a pretty good matchup with CeeDee Lamb on the outside just because they're both big, strong dudes. I don't think the Cowboys can run the ball. It's all on Dak, and Dak is going to be running for his life. I kind of think the Steelers are the play, and that sickens me.
I agree with you. I don't like it. But, I mean, I've kind of been on the Steelers for a few weeks now.
Well, we know they have a great defense. That's never going away. It's a good defense.
And they're going to be able to run.
They're not going to score too many points, but they'll run and shorten the game. And Dak will make mistakes when he's pressured like crazy.
And they're -1.5, so it's effectively just, are they going to win?
Who did the Steelers play last week?
They lost to the Colts.
But they should have won. They honestly, they moved the ball well enough. They should have won that game. They just couldn't overcome the fierceness of Joe Flacco. I don't want to lay 2. That's it. That's what it comes down to is I don't want to lay 2.
We're only laying 1.5.
Yeah, but it's vig to hell. You got to check it. It's going to be 2.5 in the contest. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't like it at 2.5.
I don't like it at 2.5. I'll maybe pile it. But I mean, the handicap is simple. Bottom 5 defense in the league versus consistent rushing offense, and then excellent defense versus explosive but mistake-prone offense with a bad offensive line versus great defensive ends. Fuck! The more I talk about it, the more I think maybe Pitt, dude. I don't know. Maybe pile. Maybe pile. Next game.
Maybe pile. And they are in Pittsburgh. Maybe pile. All right. For the last game of week 5, we have the New Orleans Saints going to play the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are -5, or you can get Saints +5.5.
I want you to start on this one. Do you have a lean, a take at all?
I mean, the Saints are the play.
I think the wrong team is favored.
Yeah, yes, the Chiefs keep eking out wins, and the Saints have had some, after looking incredible in the first 2 weeks, they've done some really silly shit the last 2 weeks, but I feel like they're playing actually better football.
Absolutely.
It's just you're going to Kansas City and they keep finding ways to pull off wins. Whereas the Saints keep finding ways to play better, but lose games the last couple weeks.
The Chiefs keep on finding ways to win against the terrible Chargers with a banged up Justin Herbert and receivers that drop everything. They find ways to win against the bad Atlanta Falcons with half of their offensive line. The decent Atlanta Falcons with half their offensive line.
Decent. They're a solid team.
The Chiefs have now lost their running back. They don't trust their backup running back. They lost their star wide receiver, who's the only one who could do anything. And isn't that some poetry right there? Man tears his ACL. By the time he gets healed, he's going to be in jail. I love it. God really just tied up that loophole for us. The lack of a speedy trial.
Yeah, it's like this due process shit.
I get the better quarterback. Let me say that again. I get the player who has played the position of quarterback better in 2024, and it's not remotely close. Mahomes has been bad. I think he's up to, let's see, I have it written down. 8 turnover worthy plays, all interceptions, no fumbles. In 4 games, for reference, because people are wondering. Will Levis is at 4 interceptable throws. Come on. To quote the President of the United States. Do you know who leads? You know who leads the NFL in interceptable passes? One Patrick Mahomes Jr.
That's a lot of interceptable passes.
Interceptable passes amongst quarterbacks graded. So like I don't know, Bo Nix doesn't count. I don't grade him. Dudes who fucking suck and will never start again don't get graded. But amongst the 19 quarterbacks I've actually charted multiple games for this year, Pat Mahomes takes the cake. That's bad. And now he doesn't have his one receiver that he trusts, and Travis Kelce is old.
And you're playing a New Orleans secondary that has some fucking guys.
And Tyrann Mathieu back, which is huge.
And Lattimore is still a stud. Paulson Adebo is great.
Alontae Taylor might be the best of the bunch right now. I love his shit. You know, fucking Chase Young is top 8 in pressures in the NFL right now. Look at him go. And he's going against Wanya Morris.
Not great. Not great.
And then Brian Brisset, who like for some reason PFF thinks is terrible, he's leading the NFL in pressures by defensive tackle. You know, 115th ranked defensive tackle per PFF, most pressures from a defensive tackle. That makes sense. He'll at least keep the interior offensive line's hands full, which is good because so the Chiefs' interior offensive line is sick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because it's so sick, they can get Joe Thuney and Trey Smith to double team to help their terrible tackles. But when you've got a guy like Brisset, who's really good, he has gravity. He draws one of those guys to him. And you got Cam Jordan, who you have to respect because he's playing defensive tackle now where he actually belongs and it's better. So now you have a harder time double teaming. You can't double team both edges. And then you've got Curtis Granderson and Chase Young, who are both having good seasons one-on-one against bad tackles.
Yeah, I think this is a good matchup for New Orleans. I just looked up the weather to see. I mean, it's going to be in like the 50s, but it's going to be dry. I don't think the weather will really affect anything.
I mean, think about it. Almost everybody on New Orleans went to Ohio State or Wisconsin. Literally. They're all going to be fine. You know who might not be fine? Xavier Worthy from Texas, Patrick Mahomes from Texas, Samaje Perine from Oklahoma, Juju Smith-Schuster from LA, Travis Kelce, who's a bitch now. Once upon a time.
He's old. He's an old man.
Travis Kelce abandoned you guys to be a black man for a while, and then he abandoned being a black man to be whatever the hell Taylor Swift's boyfriend is, an indie band singer. I don't know what he thinks he is now. His haircut looks dumb. His mustache is dumb. He's no longer good. It makes me mad because I loved him for so long, and now I've seen him fall off and engage in things that annoy me. I'm actually not mad, but it is kind of sad. Other side of the ball, the Chiefs defense is still the Chiefs defense. It's really good. But Derek Carr has been awesome this year. He had a stinker. He had one stinker week 3, but 2 A+ games, really playing well in this new offense, and nobody can cover Rashid Shaheed. He's the Tyreek Hill problem is like, I know that technically Justin Jefferson is better, but I don't know what you can do with Rashid Shaheed other than hope he makes a mistake. And he does, like a lot. But when he runs a post, if Derek Carr makes an accurate throw and Shaheed doesn't poop on himself, it's a touchdown every time. So Rashid Shaheed's a game breaker. Alvin Kamara has been really good. The Saints offensive line is awesome at running the ball, whereas the Chiefs defensive line is quietly kind of undersized. Like Chris Jones is a monster. He's top 5 defensive tackle still. Big Jeff Simmons, number 1. Get it straight. Karlaftis and Jones are great against the run, but that's kind of it. Like Drew Tranquil is undersized. Nick Bolton is a little undersized. Felix Anudike Uzoma is very undersized. I always forget Wharton's first name, Tershawn. That's why I forget. Tershawn Wharton is undersized.
You can't remember that name?
Tershawn sounds like something maybe you do while you're drunk and you don't trust a fart. I Tershawned myself. Like if your name is Sean and you trust a fart you shouldn't have, you Tershawned. I
think if you would have guessed that his name was Tershawn, that would have been vaguely racist.
Yeah, no, I think that would have spoken poorly of me. I think that the Saints will be able to run the ball. I think Rashid Shaheed will get open deep. I am scared of betting a 5 point underdog. God damn it. I am scared of going up against Andy Reid. God damn it. I am scared that no matter how bad the Chiefs play, the refs will be like, oh no, Derek Carr is wearing too much eyeliner. 15 points Gryffindor. I mean, the Chiefs. They win again because it just seems to be eternal. And usually we're on the right side of it because we bet the Chiefs when they play against other decent teams. But
And the
God,
nice thing is we have 5.5.
5.5, dude.
That like we can get kind of screwed on some play. They just have to basically not lose by a touchdown.
Okay. I like that we're not doing timestamps this week, partially because I'm lazy, but also partially because we can segue this game into our wrap up and maybe pile perfectly because we need 2 games. We have Carolina +4. We have Baltimore -2.5, Cleveland +3.5, and Pittsburgh -2.5. We also have Saints +5.5. Who do you trust the most?
Probably New Orleans or Pittsburgh.
New Orleans has been a better team than the Chiefs this year. What is this line if New Orleans takes care of business and they win by 14 without allowing a touchdown last week?
I don't know, 2.5 even.
Yeah, it might be like 3 or 2.5.
And they'd be 4-0 if that happened too.
No, they'd be 3-1.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Who did they lose to week 3?
Philly.
Fuck, they lost to the Eagles, and they actually deserved to lose to the Eagles. But the Eagles can stop the run because Jalen Carter is a freak and Jordan Davis is a freak. And Derek Carr played like shit. I don't think Derek Carr plays like shit again. I do think McDuffie's a perfect matchup for Chris Olave, so I think that really eliminates him. It comes down to Shaheed and Kamara, but I think that's enough. They also have the Taysom Hill back. Unfortunately, the Taysom Hill works. It does work.
Yeah, I mean, is he healthy? I know he left last week.
No, he played well last week, and he's back. He left week 3, and that's why the Saints couldn't move the ball. They lacked Taysom Hill.
I thought he got hurt again last week.
To the interwebs. Fuck, you're right. Let's see what Roto Baller says about his prognosis.
Old Roto Baller.
That's a lot of writing to say we're not sure. He's a game time decision, which means he will be mid if he can go at all. The Chiefs can't run the ball the way that the Eagles did, and that's how the Eagles moved the ball on the Saints. That's how everybody moves the ball on the Saints. They run. The Chiefs aren't going to be able to run that well, but they also can't pass right now. What are the Chiefs going to do? Fuck it. This is fading Patrick Mahomes. That's all this is.
Yeah, I think because I do worry that Derek Carr is going to struggle playing a legitimately good defense on the road at a famously loud stadium, but I just don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to score that often because this is one of the better defenses they've played, and they've looked bad on offense all year. And we get 5.5. So I feel like this is it might be another like the Eagles game where it's kind of a low scoring event. And we have 5.5 to play with.
I agree. I completely and totally agree. New Orleans is number 4. All right, we need one more. Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Baltimore, or Carolina. Are we betting AFC North, my Browns whispering friend, or are we betting Carolina against my Bears? It's funny that neither of us actually care about those 2 things we used to be experts in.
Yeah. I mean, Cleveland makes sense to me.
Cleveland makes so much sense.
You're getting 3.5, and their defense theoretically matches up perfectly, or as good as a team has to this point.
I'm worried that I'm worried that I'm biased and I'm subconsciously motivated by how vindicating it would be for the Browns to shut down Jaden Daniels. But then on the other hand, if Deshaun Watson wins, I'm still not vindicated. I still will get hate.
Yeah, and even if the Browns shut him down, like no one's really going to give a shit because he's had 4 good weeks to this point.
He's had 2.
Well, depending on who you talk to.
If you want to call that Bucs game good, then every football game ever played has been good.
See, it's even happening to me. So that's where I don't think it'll matter.
That's the proof. The market is crazy out of whack. Even you're here. It's like, oh, he's pretty good. He had 2 garbage time walk-in QB sneak touchdowns.
But I don't know. It seems like the right one because we're getting 3.5.
I don't want to step in front of Cincinnati. I don't want to bet on a Baltimore team that's feeling themselves. That's out.
Yeah, no, I don't like that one. I don't really love Carolina either, just because they're still a bad team.
Are the Bears a good team?
No.
Are the Bears better than the Bengals?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, but the Bengals have also looked like shit this entire year.
Well, Carolina hung with the Bengals.
Yeah, and it was +4.
Who's Pittsburgh playing? Cowboys?
Yeah, they're at home against the Cowboys, prime time.
It's
So
the
you know that
gross.
stadium's gonna be nuts.
It is the grossest possible game, but I think that they win.
In my mind, it's either Cleveland or Pittsburgh.
I agree. It's excruciating. Let's go for the glory. If Cleveland wins, I'm going to dunk so motherfucking hard. Let's go for the glory.
Yeah, let's go for Browns because we don't really want the Steelers to win.
Look, if Cleveland wins and Jaden Daniels looks bad, and I don't have any money on the game or even any theoretical money on the game, I'm going to be a sad, sad boy. I'm going to feel like I missed out. And if Jaden Daniels wins again and looks productive again, I'm going to be a sad, sad boy anyway. So fuck it.
Yeah, I
And it's
mean,
our
we can't always bet on both of them.
No, we can't. Because I actually like New Orleans, and I'm making New Orleans money line our bonus bet of the week.
Well, I was going to say, like, we've given out six. We've done that before.
Yeah,
It's not unheard of.
but we have to play five for the contest. So
Yeah, I'm saying I'm good with these as our five, but we can also bet the sixth one for the pod.
I'm only okay with doing that if we bet 3 units Tampa, 2 units Minnesota, 2 units Buffalo, 1 unit New Orleans, 1 unit Pittsburgh,
What about Cleveland?
1 unit Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of down with it because we're a little bit, or is this a total tilt move?
Yeah.
Because we can actually right our ship, but we could also kind of end our season.
No, it's totally a tilt move. Like, I love Tampa. Love them. 3 units is a little heavy. I really like Minnesota. 2 units is actually pretty acceptable for Minnesota.
Yeah.
Buffalo, I like, but I'm scared. 1 unit feels safe. 2 units feel smart, but scary. New Orleans, we would definitely be betting 1.5 units because we'd have 1 unit on the spread and then a half unit on the money line, which is plus 190.
Nice.
Cleveland and Pittsburgh, I feel whatever about, and that's 1 unit each, but the size of the other bets makes it less significant. So either we go 2 on Tampa, 1 or 2 on Minnesota, 1 on Buffalo, 1 on New Orleans, half on Cleveland, half on Pittsburgh, half on New Orleans money line, or we go 3-2-2-1-1-1 half.
Yeah, no, you're right. Let's do it.
Which one? Are we going big units or are we going normal units but moderated?
Big units. We'll do the 3-2-2-1-1-1.
Okay. So we're doing 3 units Tampa money line. We're doing 2 units Minnesota -2.5. We're doing 2 units Buffalo -1. We're doing 1 unit New Orleans +5, half a unit New Orleans money line at plus 190. And then we're doing 1 unit Cleveland 3.5, +3.5 that is, and 1 unit Pittsburgh -2.5.
My only correction is New Orleans, we have 5.5.
Well, there you go. God damn it, I hate this. Our biggest, most exorbitant week of pod bets, and I will be watching maybe a third of it on account of fishing with my family.
It's just a quick 10.5 units.
Fuck my whole ass. Well, this mirrors what I accidentally did in week 4 when I forgot that I double bet the Rams, so I accidentally had 16K on them, and I thought that was going well until the second it wasn't. And then to make up for it, of course, I had 16K on the Titans, which was scary despite never being in doubt. And now we're doing that again. We're just fucking around with big fucking units. All right, I don't feel great about this, but
okay, I think actually maybe we should do the lesser.
No, because I like it because Tampa's going to win, and that basically sets us up for the week no matter what.
Yeah,
If Tampa wins, all of our maybe piles can lose, and we're even. And then we just have to go 1-1 on Minnesota and Buffalo, and we're even. So let's do it. Let's tap our balls. Josh Allen's better than CJ Stroud.
Yeah, but
the Texans are going to run all zone because it's what they do. It's going to be a lot of cover 3. And you know who's really good against zone? Khalil Shakir. You know who's really good against zone? James Cook. Josh Allen will run against light boxes. It'll be fine. And then Minnesota is just worlds better than the Jets, who are probably currently fist fighting about whether or not to trade Robert Salah's children for Devontae Adams.
Yeah. I mean, I think it might be a little foolish. Like maybe we just shouldn't bet on Pittsburgh.
No, we're doing this.
But at this point, I don't really care. What's 1 unit? Let's have some fun.
Let's have some fucking fun. And you know what? If we lose every single bet, it's still early. It's still salvageable. And we won't because we're going to win Tampa within the next 48 hours. And we're going to be made in the shade because no matter what happens after that, we're okay.
Hell yeah.
We're going to win Tampa, damn it.
I believe.
All right.
They're better.
They're better, and they have the best quarterback in the NFL. Go watch the video. Video on YouTube.
Video on YouTube, free YouTube.
There are commercials.
Wow, yeah, but it's still free. You don't have to pay for it.
It is free. You can skip the commercials too. All right, that's it. We did it. We fucking did it again. God damn it. Special teams, don't fuck us again, please. Hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully that onside kick turned the tide for us. Because if special teams does us in this big fucking week of big bets, I'm not coming home. I'm going to live in northwestern Wisconsin and fish forever.
You know what we should do that might be a little fun? It's horrible luck, but it's funny to me. We should pick which game we expect the crushing special teams play that will ruin our bet.
Buffalo.
I'm going Cleveland. I think Cleveland will finally put together like a complete game, and then they're going to get a punt blocked for a touchdown.
I'm kind of worried that Cleveland's going to be the only win. And then I get to dunk and be like, oh, Jaden Daniels sucks. He's limited. See, I told you it would eventually matter. But then I lose all my money. That's the poetic injustice that I expect. Yeah, it sucks when we don't have the Titans to bet on, especially now that they have won a bet for us.
Yeah, well, they finally did win a bet. Now 1-3.
All right. Enough frustration, enough looking desperately for any positive decision to make. I'm going to go watch the presidential vice debates. Get it? Get it? Because that's also frustrating and there is no good decision to make. I love it. Bucks don't fail me now.
Come on, Bake.
Until next time, please bet on football games. Hasta.